Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hit that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. Let's crack on with today's first story. Much love guys. Now, today's first story comes from a throwaway account and it says, my 22 female boyfriend 29 male of 19 months is furious because my brother 24 male spent the night after going out clubbing with me. He's angry that I let another man stay over and I don't know how to react to the situation. Oof. So my brother and I live in different parts of our country and only really see each other once every few months. He was going to be in my town from last Wednesday until Saturday evening, so we made plans to go clubbing on Friday night with some friends of mine. We hung out and came home around 4, and I only have one bed in my apartment, so my brother crashed on my couch. We both woke up a few hours later, grabbed lunch and went to the airport, and my brother headed back over to where he lives. After that, he sent me a text when his flight got in safely, and that was it. Now my boyfriend and I don't live together, but I stay at his place quite often or he'll stay at mine. He usually works 2 weeks in, 2 weeks out, and he came home yesterday morning, so naturally I was pretty excited to see him. I picked him up and we came back to my place. Afterwards, while chatting, I mentioned that my brother spent the night at my place, and he got kind of weird. I kind of prodded him to tell me what was up because for the life of me, I couldn't figure what would cause him to go so quiet and sullen when just 5 minutes before we're having a flowing conversation. He told me it was nothing, so I left it, and then later I asked him again because he was still in a bad mood. He said that he didn't like the idea of another man staying at my place regardless of who it is, and that it will not be happening in the future. I got really confused here because it's my brother, sleeping on my couch for one night after we hung out. It's not some stranger or hell, even a guy friend of ours. It's my brother. I laughed it off and said, you can't be serious, you have to be joking. And he got really angry and left my place. Last night I got an angry text saying that as his girlfriend, I have to respect his wishes. While I get respect in what your SO wants, and I think this sentence meant to say compromise is meant to go both ways and saying, isn't this ridiculous? I responded asking him why my brother sleeping on my couch was so bad. And he said it just was. And that a proper girlfriend doesn't let other men stay over alone with her. And that it's incredibly disrespectful to him. More confusion from me because again, this isn't some dude I brought home. It's my brother. I tried talking to him after this, but I got a message saying we'll talk when he's composed himself. What am I to do? I really love my boyfriend, but this is just confusing and I don't know how to react. Also, I should note I've never had any other guys alone at my place. Literally only my boyfriend, apart from my brother, has ever been with me alone there. The only other time guys have been there is if I have a small group get together, and that's quite rare. Absolutely red flag behavior, and it's classic controlling behavior at the same time. And it's certainly not normal. That's your brother he's talking about, getting jealous about your brother. And, he's making rules about who you can have in your apartment. He won't discuss it rationally and sending angry texts about what a proper girlfriend does, acting like you've done something that's disrespectful. And within these stories, we often see it escalate to another level at some point along the line. I'm not saying it's going to in this one, but like today he's saying to OP, oh, no brother on the couch. And the next time it might be, why are you texting a male co-worker or just one of OP's male friends? And the fact that he's making you question yourself about something like this is problematic in itself. But this is how internet says, if your boyfriend is mad about your brother crashing on your couch after late night clubbing, he's got his priorities all wrong. I'd like to know why he's so upset over your brother staying. Another man, sure, that'd be understandable, but it's interesting he's angry about family staying in your apartment. Opie says I don't even know why. I've asked him that several times and all he says is that he doesn't like me having other men over and is very disrespectful to him. The commenter replies saying, disrespectful to him? Had he considered how disrespectful he is to you by trying to tell you that you can't have family at your own apartment? Personally, I'll be out of that relationship and situation. I'm not down with people trying to tell me who I can and cannot be around, if they're family. Or there needs to be a conversation about what boundaries he's allowed to set and the expectations of him. OP edited the post after that and said, okay, so my boyfriend and I have been texting the past hour or so. He sent me a, hey, And I was kind of in a pissy mood after he brushed me off last night, so I simply replied with, "Are you ready to talk?" He replied okay. And so I asked, what was the deal with my brother sleeping on the couch? He's not some random guy from a bar. He's not even a guy friend. He's more than that. He's my brother. I grew up with him. There is absolutely no reason for him to worry or freak out in that situation because it's my brother of all people. There is literally nothing threatening in that situation, not physically towards me or to our relationship. His response? I just am not comfortable with that. I know it's your brother, but I think there are boundaries that should be in place. Why didn't he go back to the friend's place he stayed at on Wednesday and Thursday? Opie's response was, "You're not answering my question. And just telling me what you told me last night. Also, my apartment was closer to the club than his friend's place." He said, "We've been together for some time now, and I think that as a couple, it looks bad when you let other guys stay over regardless of who they are to you. I would never do something to you like that, and I think it's fair that you reciprocate that. It's hard to explain things because I know you can't see them from my perspective." He also said, "You shouldn't really need other guys so close with you. Why couldn't you just put your brother in a cab and send him on his way, like we'd normally do with all our other friends? Anyway, I have a meeting now. I'll talk to you later. Enjoy your day, babe. Bye." Opie adds another little mini edit and says, "Everyone, I don't even know how the hell to react right now. This is the first time he's ever acted like this. He's met my brother before and they've always gotten along well." So around half a month later, Opie updated the post and says, "So against better judgment, I did not immediately break up with my boyfriend. I tried convincing myself it was a one-time thing. Maybe he was just having a rough patch and I tried pushing it down. I did tell my brother what happened and he replied saying, he always thought my boyfriend and him were cool with each other at the very least. He then told me that my boyfriend is being nuts and if I need to crash for a few days, I could come up to his end. So the rest of the week remained tense with my boyfriend, but closer to the weekend, it was relaxed-ish. We went on a date, hung out with some friends at a bar together, and yet for the life of me, I couldn't figure out reasons for his outburst. So on Sunday, I asked him again. Now that you seem in a better mood, would it be so bad if I asked what was up last week? And once again, mood went from friendly and relaxed to arctic. He simply asked me if I had to keep bringing up bullshit when we were doing okay again. I got pretty angry at him and told him to leave my apartment. Since Sunday, I've been stewing and just looking back at our relationship. Sure, I have my friends, but we hang out with them much less. The ones we do hang out with are more his friends and people that he is cool with being with. It was rough, but looking back on it, I started seeing controlling behavior from him I'd never taken up on due to either just being head over heels and willing to compromise on everything. And by compromise, I mean roll over and give up. We talked last night and I gave him an ultimatum, something I never expected to give in any relationship. Either you sit and try and talk this out with me like a rational person, no bullshit answers and no dodging questions, or we break up. Instead of having a conversation, he broke down and started telling me I was the best thing he's ever had, and that he has issues that he can't even begin to explain, and that he doesn't want to lose me. Now, I'm sorry if this is the part that makes me seem like a bitch, but it wasn't the answer I wanted or deserved. Not when I've been the one rolling over and giving him whatever throughout our entire relationship. So I told him that it was best if we didn't see each other anymore, and that he should leave my apartment. He left and spent almost 2 hours just sitting in his car in front of my place, before leaving when it was close to 12. So yeah, we broke up. I admit I feel more saddened than relieved, so I'm hoping I don't do something stupid like drunk dial him or call him over because I'm lonely or something like that. But yeah, we're not together anymore. It sucks, but it had to be done. Beer and Crumpet says, "I don't think you were being a bitch. I think you opted out of being manipulated. He was trying to pull your strings and you didn't let him, which I think was a solid choice. Well done." Epic reply saying, "Right on the nose. He was going to tell OP what she wanted to hear so she'd stay with him, and it actually never change." And I totally agree with those comments at the end there, him breaking down and crying like that. It just did feel like manipulation, just trying to get her to feel sorry for him so they stay together. And that was the same thing with sitting outside in the car as well. She might just spot him out there crying to himself and then she'd say, "Oh, come back in then." But I'm glad that OP did stand their ground on this, because that guy's got some serious issues, which being real here, I hope he did or does get some help for whatever issues he has, because as much of an asshole that guy is, you don't want that going on to someone else as well. You know, he was still single, he's still out there, he'll probably still meet someone else, and then someone else will have to deal with that as well. But what do you guys make of this situation? How would you deal with it? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. Now, our next story comes from a subreddit we haven't visited in quite a while, the r/I don't work here lady subreddit, and it says, I got fired from Walmart and never worked there. And there's an update which comes 5 years later as well. So this started in March 2020. It said, obligatory on mobile, sorry about any formatting issues. About a year ago, I worked selling solar panel systems. This job required me to wear khakis and a blue polo when I was meeting customers. One particular day, after meeting with a homeowner, I had to stop by my local Walmart to get more pens and a notepad for my work bag. I pretty consistently got asked if I worked there by other customers, and I would help if I knew what they were after. But I always told them that I didn't work there, and they were always kind. So this fateful day, I grabbed my pens and paper and checked out in the self-checkout section. As I was leaving, I heard someone say behind me, "And just where do you think you're going?" Now, a little about me. I try to mind my own business as much as possible and don't like to get wrapped up in other people's drama. When I hear outbursts like that in public, I assume it's not because of me. I also try to follow the rules as much as possible. In this case, I assume it wasn't me because I paid for everything, so I continue to my car. Roughly 30 feet from my car, I hear again, "Hey you, stop!" I do turn around at that one because that's typically what you say to a thief. An employee who can only be described as a Karen is marching towards me. 8 different kinds of pissed off. She starts reaming into me about how I'm abandoning my shift and I'm not supposed to get off for another 3 hours. I'm standing there bewildered because I genuinely have no clue what she's talking about, and I try to let her know that I don't work there. But she won't let me get a word in. Eventually she says, "Forget it, you're fired." I waited about 5 seconds later and told her, "I don't work here. I've never worked here." She stared at me and muttered, "Sorry," and ran back inside. I'm still not sure what happened, but that's the tale of me being fired from a job I never worked at. Hope it brought you some joy. Phoenix Waller says, "Lol, I would have totally been a bitch at that point, turned the tables and demanded to speak to her manager." Nugget says, "I want to speak to the manager." So almost 3 years later, OP came in with their first update and said, "So the below text was my story from a couple of years back. I have an update to this story. That being said, it was from an old account, so I'm reposting the story here and with an update at the end." And then, skip the original bit. And the update said, "The manager in this story apparently has a memory like an elephant. Kinda looks like one too, and is still working there today. I went in to pick up a couple of things and return one thing for my wife. I'm waiting in the return line, and the person in front of me is having some issue with the return, so the employee helping them calls for a manager. It's the same lady. Recognized her immediately, and as it turns out, she recognized me. Kind of. She points at me and tells me I'm not allowed to shop at this Walmart, and if I don't leave, she'll call the police. I asked why I was banned. She said she didn't remember, but she knew I was. So I left. My wife and I have been cackling over this for a couple of days and thought you'd find it funny as well." Jordan says to this one, "Contact Walmart at corporate and inform them she's harassing you and banned you because she was embarrassed for harassing a customer. She has no place being a manager for any company acting like that." The Doc J says, "If that's how she treats customers, I would lay good money that she treats staff like crap too. I'm sure they would cheer for her departure." So, 5 years after the original post, OP comes in with another update and says, "Very much doubt anyone remembers this, but here's the link to the previous update if anyone happens to care. Short version to catch up, people. I was fired from Walmart that I didn't work at by a power-tripping manager because I apparently looked like someone who worked there. The final update is that recently my family moved to a new neighborhood around the corner from the Walmart. After meeting the new neighbors, I found out one worked at this Walmart. I told her the story because I think it's hilarious, and she let me know that manager, let's name her Gertrude, was arrested and fired. Old Gertie apparently had a history of arbitrarily banning people like she did to me. But nobody really ever complained, so nothing ever got done. She was just shifted from department to department. One day late last year, she got a little too aggressive with an off-duty cop and tried to forcefully remove her from the store, which inevitably led to Gertrude punching the cop. She was arrested and finally fired. My neighbor and most of her co-workers have rejoiced. Karma can be a beautiful thing. Initial shop says to that one, does that mean you're no longer banned from the store for doing something you didn't do? But it must have been something because she remembered you, even if she couldn't remember what she thought you did. Opie says, my neighbor informed me my ban has been lifted. I've had a few I don't work here situations, which I've probably told you before, but anyway. When I used to work at the market research company I did, part of my job was getting competitor products to go against the ones that we're testing. So all these products get sent to like a hall or something, and they have respondents go there and try the products, and they'd have to test it against like competitor products, which are the ones that I have to go and get. But with these competitor products, they all have to have like a certain batch date, so they all have to have the same batch date, so they're all the same, etc., which often required me going to multiple supermarkets around different towns, etc., to get the same batch date, because like they'd only have like 4 or 5 of whatever product that was on the shelf, so I'd have to go to multiple throughout the day, list them out so I can make sure I could get the same batch date, and then go round them again to pick them all up. So I was often walking up and down aisles with a notepad and a pen and paper, writing down batch dates of these products, which could quite often lead to some funny interactions with people. Most people absolutely fine, like when you say, oh, sorry, I don't work here. But I tried to help if I could, because I went in many supermarkets. I knew where a lot of things were, so often I'd point out, say, oh yeah, aisle 5, that's the one you want. But the funniest interaction I had was a little old lady when I was getting jellies or something like that. And I could see her hovering around in my peripheral vision, you know. Eventually says, excuse me, do you know where this certain product is? And I said, no, unfortunately, I don't. And she huffed and puffed and walked away. Then she came back again, like, you must know where it is. You work here, blah, blah, blah. I said, no, I don't work here. And she says, you do work here. And because I had a pen and paper in my hand for some reason, that means I work there. And then it got to the point of her threatening to go and get the manager to deal with me, which, true story, she actually did go get the manager. And the manager looked at me and went, he don't work here. And there was no apology from her or anything. She just looked at the manager and then asked him where to get the product she wanted. And I can just remember walking out the store thinking, the fuck just happened? That's the same store I got knocked over by a learner driver while crossing the zebra crossing. Probably one of the most wildest random ass jobs that I've ever been in. Absolutely loved it though, because it's just so weird. But what do you guys make of the story that we just told? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. Now, our next story comes from Dizzy Maze 7364, and it says, am I the arsehole for telling my sister-in-law to get out of my daughter's baby shower? Now, just a trigger warning before we do get into this story. There is talk of stillbirth within the story, so if you do want to skip the story, please feel free to do so. Timestamps are always down in the description and along timeline below. Thank you. I, 47 female, have a daughter, 25. She's currently 26 weeks pregnant with her second child, a girl. Her first child, Philip, was stillborn 2 years ago at 38 weeks, a little boy. When she lost him, she asked us to take apart the nursery before she got home and get rid of the baby equipment. She saved his baby book, his ultrasound photos, and the outfit she planned to bring him home in, along with a lock of his hair in a memory box. She had had a baby shower for Philip when she was pregnant, but her grief around his death was so strong that she couldn't handle having the nursery and baby things. We offered to return the baby shower gifts to the givers. Most kindly refused and asked us to donate the items, except my husband's sister, Rachel, 43. She made a huge deal out of my daughter being hysterical and constantly loudly talked about how ridiculous it was to take apart the nursery. We kept her away from my daughter and only allowed her to return to family functions when she promised to stop bringing it up. We recently held a baby shower for my daughter's new baby girl. Rachel, along with the rest of my husband's female relatives, was invited. She kept making quiet remarks to everyone that we were tacky for having a baby shower for a second child. But since she didn't get near my daughter, I ignored it. When my daughter began opening gifts, it hit the fan. She loudly said, if you hadn't torn Philip's nursery apart and gotten rid of everything, you wouldn't be here begging for presents for this baby. My daughter froze and just stared off into space. Tears started running down her face. I just said, Rachel, please leave. She refused and started arguing with me. I took her present out of the pile, walked to the door, and threw it out. I yelled, "Get out, now!" And my husband came into the room and asked what happened. His mum told him, and he physically picked up his sister and put her outside the door. Now the family is divided over whether I should have yelled at her to get out and thrown her present. Am I the arsehole? What an absolutely awful, nasty bastard. And I'm glad you both threw out the trash, because that's simply what needed to happen. What an absolute vile person. And quite frankly, anyone taking their side would be getting the same treatment as well. How can you listen to those disgusting words that came out of her mouth and then say that OP overreacted in this in any way? That's mad. That sister just needs to be no contact from your family functions and from your lives for permanently, because I can't see her changing her views and the disgusting way she talks to people at any time soon. Pleasant Test says to the OP, not the arsehole, if anything, you were overly generous by trying to ignore her cruel, thoughtless remarks prior to the final horrific outburst. Your daughter's welfare was your priority and must remain so. I can't imagine how heartbreaking the loss of her baby was, and to be reminded of that so callously is unbelievable. Your sister-in-law took a joyous occasion, one full of hope and promise, and poured acid all over it. You and your husband both should be commended for your restraint. I hope your daughter enjoys a healthy pregnancy and that your granddaughter brings you all much joy. Tempting Penguin says, info. Why was Rachel even invited after the way she talked about your daughter's behavior when she was grieving? OP says the family agreed to keep her away from my daughter until she apologized and agreed to stop talking about it. She did so a few months after Philip's death and had been invited to several events since without bringing it up. Levio says, not the arsehole. Honestly, if she had done and said that in front of my daughter, I'd have picked her up myself and tossed her ass in the street and probably would have punched her a few times. Also, she's a wretched person. I'd cut all contact with her. OP says, we are all, both my daughters, their partners, and my husband and me, go in no contact with my husband's support. His mum is sad because it means she won't get to see us all together anymore, and the rest of the family is upset. We won't attend gatherings that include her. But I'm going to do what's best for my girls and their kids. My older daughter is so angry. She was sick and couldn't attend. She and her boyfriend are taking my pregnant daughter and her husband up to Hot Springs for the weekend to relax. So OP gives us a couple of little updates. The first one said, we're having a family meeting without Rachel, while my daughters and their partners are away at Hot Springs this weekend. We'll update again after the meeting. Update 2, the meeting went well. My husband and I gave a brief summary of what happened, backed up by witnesses. The relatives that couldn't make the shower are now aware of what happened. The family consensus is that Rachel is unequivocally to blame and should not be allowed to be around my daughters or their kids. Other people in the family brought up issues they've had with her in the past along similar lines, especially involving pregnancy and kids. Rachel will no longer be included in large family gatherings. Those who want to continue a relationship with her will do so on their own, and have been informed that advocating for Rachel to be forgiven and included or feeding her information about me, my husband, or our kids and grandchildren will result in us going no contact with them as well. My mother-in-law has apologized profusely for making the remarks about being sad that she won't have both of her children under her roof for the holidays anymore. We've accepted her apology because her feelings are valid and this is sad for her. Thank you so much for all your support. I will update when my granddaughter is born if you would like. Absolutely, it'd be lovely to hear, and the right things are being done, keeping her away from your daughter. It was interesting that OP mentioned that other people have had issues with her as well, especially around the pregnancy topic. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Now, just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories, your love, your support, your time. It always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being involved, truly. And I will see you in the next one. Take care and much love.
I've been thinking about your smile. I've been thinking that I can't let you go. Hey, can you hear